Glad you joined us again for another episode of the Moving Spotlight podcast. We have an interesting episode today with Danielle Eskenazi. She has some amazing advice when it comes to how to book the room by being your authentic self. And she also talks about how to not lie, or more importantly, how I like to add, don't get caught.
Yes, she talked about not lying. I don't know about getting caught part. Yeah, Danielle is one of the busiest commercial casting directors in Los Angeles, and a wonderful person. She also goes into how to connect to casting directors through social media, which I thought was a great tidbit. You know, how to kind of find your community out there, how to connect with good people. And I love the advice she had on how to stay on casting directors' radar.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into that episode with Danielle Eskenazi.
Welcome to another episode of the Moving Spotlight podcast. This is your chance to take control of your creative career. We discuss the tactics and mindset it takes to elevate your skills and craft in any creative endeavor. If you're listening on a podcast, be sure to check us out on YouTube. And if you're watching on the tubes, give us a listen on your next jog. My name is John Ruby. My co-host is Corbin Coyle. We also have a brand new Patreon page, where you can support and help us create more great content. But more importantly, share this, give us a like, give us a review so others can find us. And today we are very excited to have the wonderful, fabulous, lovely. Look at that. Three adjectives, Corbin. Danielle got
That's amazing.
Yeah, three.
Why
Danielle.
did I deserve that?
Yes, Danielle Eskenazi on the show. Danielle is a talented casting
I didn't know
director.
who you were talking to.
We're talking about you.
Oh, okay.
She is a talented casting director who loves to help actors, has a lot of great advice, and has had she's very young, but has had a long career. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really happy to be here. This sounds really interesting and fun.
Yeah, we are excited to have you. We want to dive right into, since you've been doing casting, let's go back to the beginning in the sense of how did you get into casting?
Oh my God, it's such a crazy story, but I was in the retail business and I was so sick of it. Telling women going, that dress looks fantastic on you. I had
Sure.
And so I asked a friend of mine who was working at CAA at the time. She was an big agent there. And I said, I want to get into the business. What can I do? And she's like, you do really good at casting. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. I had no idea what it entailed or anything. I just dove in. And I got my first job from Risa Barish and Billy Hopkins, who are huge.
Yeah.
And at the time, this was 20 years ago, but at the time they were casting a film called At Close Range with Christopher Walken and Sean Penn and Millie Perkins and Mary Stuart Masterson, Kiefer Sutherland. It was a huge movie and James Foley was casting it, but they needed a West Coast casting assistant. So she said, you have the job if you want it. And I said, do they know that I've never done this before? She said, yeah. So great. Okay. So they gave me my own office on the top of Sunset. I had a beautiful view. I had no idea what I was doing. But when I walked into the office, there was a guy sitting on the floor in my office. And I was like, oh, and he said, oh God, is this your office? I said, yes. He said, I'm sorry, I'm just talking to my wife. I'll be out of here in a minute. And I'm like, no, it's okay. And then I realized it was Sean Penn. He was sitting in my office and he was talking to Madonna because she did all the music. And so I sat at my desk and I'm like, yes, this is my new career. I like this. So yeah, I worked with them. And then I worked with Amanda Mackey, who did League of Their Own. I worked with Vicki Thomas, who did Sin Nancy, with a myriad of incredible people. And the one that was my major mentor was Lee Daniels, because he was a manager at the time. And he would call me up and I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, don't worry, you got this. And he would really help me through. So with all those mentors and working as an assistant for 4 years, I got my first job at Disney. And I found Mila Jovovich when she was 13, put her in her first film. And then found Hank Azaria, put him in his first film. And then I did that for 10 years, independent. And I did films with David Bowie and Rosanna Arquette. And then HKM called me and and said,
which is a commercial production company, right?
Yeah, that was my first commercial production company, and said, we want a theatrical eye to do our commercials, which doesn't really mean anything, but I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's exciting.
Let me help you guys out. And then I did a bunch of their commercials and loved it. And I thought, this is kind of where I want to be now. So, a door opens, you go through it and see if it works. So that worked for me. So I've been doing that for the last 18, 20 years.
Wow. That's great. That's great. Go ahead, Gordon.
I was going to jump in real quick. Is there anything that you've learned like recently that juxtaposes to those early days, like is, being on Zoom, all these like tech things, anything new that's completely different?
It's so different now. I mean, thank God for Zoom, because we were at a halt for a good 8 months. It was like production done. We got to figure this out, but they came back pretty quick. And when we found Zoom, it's the exact same thing. We're in the same room as them, and we're directing them. As you know, John, it's just, it's incredible. And you don't have to, go to the 405,
which is pretty sweet.
So I love it. I love Zoom, and my directors love Zoom. And, the main thing for actors is just, getting the lighting right, making sure you have a good Wi-Fi, your mic, because when you come into the room to audition, we don't want to have to work with all that technical stuff. We want to direct you. So a lot of times are wasted doing that, so.
Definitely. And I think, Danielle, it's not just our business, but it's kind of filtered out. I do some coaching and consulting for people that are accountants and other fields, and they're all trying to kind of upgrade their Zoom meeting rooms too. You know what I mean? So that it looks good, it sounds good, because they're having meetings, through this medium too. And I mean, especially for actors, I think that with self-tapes and things like that, or, live auditions through Zoom, it is really important, and it has changed a lot. Danielle, you mentioned some of those people that you helped put in their first movie. What are things you look for in actors? What are things that like stand out to you? Like when you, I mean, obviously there's some instinct, but give us some thoughts on that.
I mean, I think, well, if we're talking about film, their authenticity and how they see the character. For commercials, don't go overboard. Don't try to stand out too much. Don't be like, I'm going to walk in like, I don't know, a bear, I don't know. And make it stand out, but I think for all of it is the foundation of being grounded and letting us know who you are first before putting on any airs, because we see through that. And I know that the director wants to see exactly who he's going to work with for 12 hours on a set, so just be as authentic as possible. I think a lot of actors try to do this, I'm going to stand out, and it just doesn't work.
What about, I know you do a lot of comedy too, Danielle. Do you feel like with comedy, there's any difference between more of a dramatic spot? What do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, comedy is timing. So if you've got that timing, you're in the bag,
Sure.
But yeah, like with pharmaceuticals, it's a whole different thing. You have to like learn the long words, the medicinal words, and all that stuff. So you just need to go in being really comfortable with that, and that's hard sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have a preference on genre? Do you like doing comedy because it makes you laugh when you're in the room?
Totally, all the way. And I have a lot of comedy directors, so I started going more in that vein when I started accumulating more and more directors that did comedy, and I love it. It's so much fun because, you could see what actors are like thinking and how they, how they're going to portray a character with comedy. It's great. And I think less is more with comedy. You don't want to be too much in their face. It's sort of an undertone more than anything else of just being even flat sometimes,
Yeah. Don't you think there's kind of I always reference, I feel like, Danielle, ever since when The Office came out, that every commercial was like, keep it real like The Office, especially in comedy. It was like The Office was the reference for like, so when that kind of changed where the bar was in a sense, and then that became kind of the target, right? I feel like that was very.
And before The Office was Waiting for Guffman.
Yes, that's true.
And that is hilarious to me. Because they really believe who they are and portray that without making it too big or too cocky, or it's just so funny to me. I love all of those documentaries.
Yeah. So I think this is actually kind of interesting. We haven't talked too much about this on the podcast, but for a long time, I've auditioned for Danielle, but I've also now run sessions for her. And what's interesting about that, Corbin, I think, is when people are auditioning for stuff, it kind of gets passed down the chain, so it goes from like, the writer or the ad agency, to like, let's say the director, and then the director to Danielle, or the producer, and then to me, and then I pass that as a session director along to the actors. And I think what's interesting is, everyone's kind of interpreting it a bit their own way, but I'll be running a session, and then all of a sudden, like Danielle's voice will come in, like the voice of God, and be like, John, tell them to do this. And I'll be like, okay, now we're changing it. And I think what's interesting about that is like, actors have to be open and available for those quick changes. So I might even have been heading this direction with it and telling actors this. And it's like, well, no, we just heard, or we just noticed, or we saw this. And then you have to be adaptable. Mm-hmm. So I think, one of the interesting things, Danielle, I love that the authenticity. Yes. But I also feel like adaptability, where great, I took it this way, I liked this, and then something completely different or new came up. Are you able to be like, oh yeah, that sounds great, and then go in that direction? You know what I mean, Danielle? Have you seen that in callbacks and stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and I have those conversations pre-casting with the producer and the ad agency. We get on a conference call, and the ad agency tells me what they want. The director tells me what he wants or she wants. And then we have to find the middle ground to make everybody happy, which is really difficult sometimes, Mm-hmm. So it's just basically coming in, knowing the dialogue, being confident, get ready for redirection. Don't try to work with something at home and then we can't move you once you get in there. That's really hard, So
yes.
when we redirect you, they're like, oh, got it. And then they do the exact same thing.
Yes, yeah. You give them the note, they're like, yeah, totally. The exact same.
They're like, no, that's not what I said.
That's not. Danielle, I was just thinking of that. I had a callback for something. It made me think of what you just said, which was the person in the lobby, the assistant said, the director loves improv. The ad agency wants you to stick to the lines. They're like, good luck in there. And you're like, whoa! And then they get sent in through the Zoom room, and you're like, okay, so you're right. Sometimes it is kind of behind the scenes. There's things happening too. You know what I mean? Obviously in front of the scenes, but behind the scenes too.
Yeah. And then when we say things like, hey, use some buttons, it's not like different dialogue, because, when we're having callbacks, the writer's in the room, and the specs, the dialogue was approved by the higher up. So you don't want to change it too much, but it's like something that you do that we know you get the dialogue, but you bring something else to it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That makes you more authentic and different from everybody else. So that really, really works. And that works if you take improv classes, and that's really important. And I think for theatrical and commercials.
How do you like actors to improvise? Like, do you like them to kind of just hit the mark the first time and then you open the door for them to improvise? Or you like them to just take the reins and show that they're confident?
We usually do 2 takes, one like, let me see what you got. And then we go, no.
Bad. Wrong, bad. Don't do that again.
That was so off. Let me see what you got, what you're bringing in, but don't go over the top. And then let's do one straight for exactly what they are looking for.
Yeah.
Gotcha. If we have time, we do that.
It's interesting, Danielle, you made that joke about no. And there's a little bit of truth to that in the sense that we want you to be amazing. So we're like trying to correct in our heads, I think, Danielle. So we are like, no, because we're like, oh, somebody already made that joke, or somebody already tried that, or, so it is interesting when it's like we're giving constructive criticism or feedback to like help you out, not to shut you down. I think that's a good thing for actors to remember, that it's like, it's
on your side.
Yes.
We are judging you, but in a really good way. We're redirecting you because we want you to get the job. We don't want you to look bad, because it's not going to go in our link.
Yeah.
If you come in like completely out of whack and like, it's just not going to work, and we're not going to put you on tape.
Yeah.
Because that tape is representing us, or me. And, we're trying to get the best performance out of you.
And I would also advise actors, and this could be true with interviews and stuff too, but don't absorb, like if we're a little grumpy because we've had a long day and we've got stress with other things going on, don't absorb that energy, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's like, oh, they don't like me. It's not that we don't like you. We're seeing 100 people today. We're seeing 120 people. It's
Yeah.
just more, we're maybe a little bit rushed, or we're dealing with these other things, or we're prepping another session. So the idea is, take the content of what's there, even if the tone is not always smiley and sweet, because we'd love to spend 15 minutes with an actor. Danielle won't give me that schedule, but we'd love to have that. It's just kind of not a reality, because you also need the numbers, to present.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to, look, budgets have gone down. Back in the day, we would have, if we had to do 10 roles, I would have 2 prep and 5 cast and 2 callbacks. Now it's like 1 prep, 3 cast, and 1 callback, go.
So it's all been shrunk.
So, yeah. So sometimes I'm doing 3 characters a day, and we just want you to come in with your A game, as much as possible.
How do you juggle that many characters in one day? I mean, that's not really a good question, but I'm just curious how do you like compartmentalize every single kind of thing that you're trying to go for in that moment?
The trick is, Corbin, is that I love my job so much that I'm very patient. And I really like to see actors come alive. I really like to see the transition of them coming in, slating, and all of a sudden they're doing this great character, so it makes me so excited, and it's so fun to watch. So if you don't like your job, it's going to be treacherous all day doing that. But, it's just different from every casting director.
Danielle, how do you, I'm curious, just a tiny little pivot here. How do you, being a mom and working, how do you kind of handle your work-life balance? How does that, I'm also a dad and doing that. So I'm just curious your thoughts on it.
Luckily, Zoom has saved my life. Because when we were casting, when I had my office on Sunset, now it's in the Valley, so it's a lot better. But I live about 20 miles outside of the Valley. Zoom has been incredible, just because I could leave for 20 minutes, pick him up from school, and he's doing his homework, and I could continue my casting. And it's also great to have an ex. So they take over the Slack, I take over my Slack, her Slack. And it's just it's much better, but it's hard. It's really, really hard, because you want to pay a lot of attention to your kid when he gets home.
Yeah. What do you do to kind of recharge, Danielle? Where do you kind of go, or what helps you when you need a little energy boost?
I've been doing a lot of hikes lately, and I live up in the hills. So it's an hour in the morning before I start my session, clears my head completely. And that's been, and I never did that before. And it's for the past 2 months I've been doing it. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I watch Beverly Hills Housewives.
It's the same thing.
It makes my problems this small.
My wife does the same thing, Danielle. She's like, I feel so good about things. I feel so good. She's like, I feel great.
We're good. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's about it.
Danielle, I have a question. When things sometimes can be busy in this business and then they can be slow, how do you kind of handle a bit of that, kind of the sticking with it through the ups and downs of that?
I know every single casting directors that think that when they're down for a week, that their career is over. Basically, we're all like, shit. Well, look, that was fun. It was a great career for 20 years, and I really appreciate it. And then, we'll get that call. But, my friends all help me out with that. And they're like, oh my God, you've been doing this for so long. You're down for a week, enjoy it. And I'm like, oh, all right. But, you just have to sort of fill up time. I also do classes. I do classes once a month.
Great.
And I also, I work with AMDA. I do coaching for them. I work, I do SAG Foundation. I do a lot of those as well. So that fills up my time and keeps me sort of motivated.
Great. Well, we'll put a link to your classes on the show notes. Is
Sure.
that on your website, Danielle? Okay,
Yeah.
great. I had a question about your website, which is you got a couch on there with the big red X through it. Okay, no
The
casting.
old Hollywood.
What's that? Go ahead. What's that?
The old Hollywood.
The old
casting
Hollywood,
couch.
the no
We
casting
don't
couch.
do
of
that
course.
here. We're
No,
clean. We're good.
no.
That's good.
You're safe with us.
I think that's good. We've touched on this before, but I think there is the getting rid of that whole idea and kind of a lot of the jerks. I feel like there's been a transition in that, which is pretty neat.
Well, the Me Too movement changed all that for sure.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's very careful on the way they speak.
Yep.
I had to retrain some of my my camera guys to be very careful in how they make jokes and regarding any kind of racism or anything like that. It's a whole different world now, and could ruin your career.
Yeah, definitely could. I mean, I know people throw the word, cancel culture. I like to call it consequence culture. It's like there are consequences,
Exactly.
to me makes a little more sense. There are consequences to bad behavior. And
There is. And there was a lot of bad behavior back in the day, a lot of bad behavior.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fair to the actor, and it wasn't fair to, a lot of the people in production.
Yeah.
And they've closed places down because of that as well.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
So couch with a mark.
Love that.
So we're when it comes to kind of like what you're saying with like the old, well, how do I ask this? It's basically like how do you find all these actors like to get them into your sphere, because it seems like it's can be kind of complicated when it comes to exactly as you're saying, like certain people that they don't want to work with, or people that these different personalities. Like, how do you bring different actors and people and DPs, everybody, into your world and like trust them? Do you just keep working with the same people, things like that?
Yeah, we'll know when they audition for us, when they walk in the room, what their attitude is and how they handle themselves. So if they're all over the place and cocky and in a bad mood or creepy or anything, we won't put them on tape. So that's part of our job, is to sort of make sure that everybody that we send to them is, professional.
Yeah.
That's really important, and they depend on us to do that.
Yeah.
I liked how you said earlier that it's like, it's my reputation on the line. It's obvious when you think about it, but I don't think people think of that when it comes to the casting agency as well. It's like,
listen, anything goes wrong in casting, the casting director is blamed for it 100%. Even if an actor comes in and they know that they have surgery on a day that it shoots, and in their mind they're like, well, I just want them to see me anyway. Just so they know who I am. And then if they like them and they go to book them, they're like, sorry, I have surgery that day. Well, you knew that coming in. You know what I mean? So the producers call me and they're like, what the fuck? Like, didn't you know? And for me to say, no, I didn't know, is honest, but you still get blamed. So that's a big thing for actors. Just make sure that you're clear on our schedule, on our shooting schedule, on our callback schedule, all the way across the board before you even come in. Check with your agent, let them know what your plans are.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, Danielle, that honesty can be rewarding. And what I mean is, I've been part of callbacks where maybe they can't find the person, and then they're like, there was someone we liked in the first round that didn't make it to callbacks, and if we know why you're not there, we'll pull them up and take a look and be like, oh yeah, this person would be great, are they available and stuff. But that comes from, like you're saying, kind of not lying or not fudging around what you know or don't know, because then it can fall on your
let's
shoulders.
talk about lying for a minute.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's touch on that. Yes.
So I was doing a huge campaign with Patti LaBelle, and it was for a pharmaceutical that you had to take this drug, you had to be 65 years old. You had to be 65. They couldn't do it for legal purposes if they were under 65. So on tape, we asked everybody if they're 65, 65, 65. And it was a singing thing with Patti LaBelle. So it was pretty specific. So we got our cast. They were so happy. And you know where this is going. They were so happy. And Patti LaBelle was on stage, and then she had her backup singers, which we cast. And we had finished. They finished shooting, 2 days of shooting, and the producers and the clients were down from the stage, but pretty close. And Patti LaBelle says to one of them, "Girl, how old are you?" And she goes, "I'm 62 or 60." And the whole set, everybody stopped and just like looked in like slow-mo. And my phone rang, and they're like, "What is happening?" And she said, "My agent told me to lie."
No.
Yeah. And so thank God I was off the hook, because she lied. And, you know,
Yeah.
how are you going to know?
Yeah.
But luckily, the pharmaceutical said, okay, 62 is okay. But if it was anything under, you'd have to reshoot the whole thing.
Whoa.
Wow.
And that was like a campaign with Patti LaBelle. So they would have to have paid her again.
Ooh.
So the budget would have been, that would have been bad. That would have been very, very bad. Yeah, that's.
So again, don't lie, because it'll come right back. I mean, you know, listen, I never saw her again. She was out of the business.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, it's funny because I was going to say there was only one time I saw someone get blacklisted, which I've really never seen. And I've been doing it, 15, 20 years, Danielle. And that was when they didn't say they said they were available, but they were already booked. And so they left one job for another job, you know what I mean? So they kind of got double booked, but they totally tried to game the system. And, you know, that office at least was like, yeah, that was not fair to us, because they left our job for another job after saying they would take it.
Yeah. And they see which one would pay more, which one's national, which, you know, it's just, you don't do that, because that's what you're hurting relationships. You know, that means I could never trust that agent again.
Yeah.
And I could never trust that actor again, you know? So
Danielle, how do new actors get on your radar?
New actors get on?
Yeah. What if someone like Corbin's like, how do I get in front of Danielle? I want to audition for her.
Starbucks cards.
No.
Bribes are still okay. No casting couch or lying, but bribes.
How do you feel about Amazon cards that I'm holding?
How do they get on my radar? But, you know, submitting, you know, for something that you're absolutely right for. You have an agent, right, Corbin?
No, I don't. I'm still going through the whole ringer.
Well,
but
get an agent.
Yeah.
And once the agent has a new client, what they usually do is email me their headshot and their resume, so I know who they are. And so when they do submit me, I'll see their picture again, and it'll ring a bell for me. But this is the other thing that you should do: get on Twitter and talk to me. Not talk to me like, hey, can you put me in a commercial or a film or whatever?
Yeah.
Just engage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I put so many people in spots that I talk to on Twitter, because I'm on there all the time. I'm giving affirmations. I'm talking to actors, even picking some of their headshots out. They give me 5 headshots and I'll pick out the best 2. I'm sorry. And so when they get submitted for me, I'm like, oh, I just talked to that person. It's all like that. It's all sort of intertwined. And you know, acting is an art and it's a beautiful thing, but you also have to do the business part of it.
Yep.
You know, it's a big business. There's a lot of people who want to act, you know, so taking improv classes, getting on Twitter, you know, doing that whole thing is really, really important. And I talk to these people every day.
Yeah.
Single day.
Yeah, it's great, Danielle. I talk about kind of, being on the front of someone's mind. So like if you're there with Twitter in creepy, aggressive way, and then you see that the person submitted, much easier. You know, if someone's talented and they're nice, why would you not want to help them out? You know? Speaking of Twitter, I mean, you have like, I checked, like 63,000 followers or something crazy, Danielle. I mean,
We're all my very, very close friends.
but talk to me about kind of your, how you've gotten so good at that. I think that can be challenging for people.
Yeah, it is challenging.
Yeah.
And trust me, it was challenging. And it took me a couple of years to get it.
Yeah.
But what I found is that actors are starving for some sort of connection with someone in the industry because they don't have that. You know, they just have their agents, but I connect with Cher, like she's my friend. You know what I mean? It's like I follow her, and it's like there's a connection there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so them connecting with a casting director or director and following them and just engaging in normal conversations with them as opposed to like, well, what are you working on? Is there a part for me? That's a turn off for casting directors. That's not why we're on there.
Yeah.
We're on there to engage. I give a lot of affirmations. I give a lot of speeches of like, you know, look, if you don't get a part, that's okay. There's bigger things for you in store. You know, and they're like, oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. I needed that today. You know, so giving them the more positive feel as opposed to like the negative ones that they have every day. You know, when you're up for a really big part and somebody else gets it, it derails them completely. So I kind of give them that boost to say like, well, don't worry about that. There's something bigger coming your way. You know, there's always another chance. It's called tomorrow. You know, so they really respect that. And they know that I'm a casting director that loves to work with actors.
Yep.
And so I think it accumulated a bunch of other actors and also like normal people to follow me. And I do, and I work with them too, you know, and I have the classes and all that stuff as well.
I love it. Well, Corbin, we found the title of this episode, which is Danielle is our Cher. Okay.
Yeah.
She's our
She's
Cher.
our Cher.
Right. She's our
share
Cher.
and share alike.
Share alike. Oh, I like that. Corbin, I think it's time for something that we like to call brag time. So we have a section, Danielle, called brag time. No, it's really fun. No, it's a lot of times the world right now is very much about being humble and not bragging. And we're curious if you've had any like a really great commercial you're really proud of, or working with a director. So you get some time to brag. And it's like, you know, not in a cocky way, but in a way that's like, hey, this is something I want to share. I'm really proud of. I worked hard on this and this happened. So I don't know if it was a casting or it could be something in your personal life. Is there anything that comes to mind for brag
I'm
time?
not going to talk about my personal life, John.
See how I tried, Corbin?
Yeah, you tried. Trying to get it
out. There is this one commercial that I thought was hilarious.
Okay.
And it was a Skittle spot with my director, Ulf, who's a little left from center.
Okay.
And I'm doing a commercial for him right now that I just booked, but he's like way out there. Like he does the Swedish commercials, which they don't give a shit about anything.
Right.
So it was a Skittle spot and we were looking, this is so stupid. We're looking for a tube sock guy. So a guy to dress up and he's a tube sock. And then we were looking for the oldest people in history. So like 90, 95 actors who still have it all together.
Yeah.
And the tube sock guy is basically, I mean, it's it's on YouTube. And they actually made a Facebook fan page out of it too. And it's been going on forever.
That's amazing.
And so the line is, hit me again, tube sock. And he electrocutes him. And then he eats a skit. I don't know, but it was just so bizarre. And I'm like, okay. Listen, those actors made so much money.
Oh man, yes.
It went international. It went to theaters. And it was around for a long time, which made me really happy because these older people had a little bit more of a nest egg, which made me really happy.
That's nice.
Yeah, but I can't forget that one.
That's amazing.
So bizarre.
Did the
I'll have to
actors
look that one.
Down.
did the actors have fun like filming it? Like were they
Oh my
getting weird
God,
with it?
that's so much fun.
That's awesome.
And we had to like talk really loud because of the older people.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We're like, no, not all, don't get off that box.
Yeah.
Stand by the box, not on the box. So yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, well, castings, Corbin, with really younger people and older people take a lot of energy. They're both like take that like a lot of energy, just in different ways, but they both take energy. By the end of the day, you're like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
With that, Danielle, with the number of spots you've done and the different directors, is there anything that you like, if an actor sends a thank you card? I mean, you mentioned gift cards, but like, is there something that is just like a nice thank you card that you appreciate, or
I
shout
do
out on Twitter?
appreciate that. Or you can give me a shout out on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, after you book, you don't have to send me cards when you audition. I'll remember you. But like after you book, I think that's sweet for anybody, for any casting director. They do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you like when it's, short and sweet, or do you want it to be a little bit more personal to their experience? Yeah, I figured. Nice and short and sweet.
We don't have time to
Of course,
read,
yeah.
mantras, but even if you email me, if you find my email or email me and you want to introduce yourself, just one line, and then just give me all your stuff. You know what I mean? We don't have to know what happened when you were 8 years old.
Yeah.
Just, here's my resume, my headshots. What do you think? That's it.
Danielle, if you have advice for someone that's interested in getting into casting, or like if you were going to give yourself advice, what comes to mind?
I would say be an assistant for as long as you possibly can, because there's so much to learn.
Yep.
And a lot of it is personality with the production company. They have to like you because they're going to work with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so starting out, definitely being an assistant, learning all the trades, contracts, all that stuff that, you're going to have to achieve to be a casting director. And work with really good people. You know what I mean? Look them up, send in your resume and see if they need an assistant, and just be ready to do anything they want you to do, because we can't do everything. So, it's for you to pick up the pieces of what we get busy doing.
Yeah.
What are some of those like tough obstacles you can only learn by working with a tough client? Something that you'd only through the fire, basically.
Yeah, some of them are really, really hard. I just did a huge campaign for Carvana, and and I also did a big I've been doing a lot of campaigns lately, but I just did a campaign for Wynn Hotels with Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah, I saw that spot. That was great. That turned out great.
Yeah, and he directed it and actually wrote it and was in it. So we had to fill all those other characters, and he's a really good actor. So we went through a lot of days of finding the same sort of caliber in the commercial world as well. So
I think that's Danielle, a great point, which is I do feel like kind of like you said before about a film actor doing commercials. I feel like now there's a really interesting thing of, TV, film, commercials, like all the levels have kind of like gone up in a sense. And I think it's really exciting, where there's way more crossover than there used to be. And so I think when you say that, like it's really cool. And I definitely have seen that, where it's not as much of that hierarchy,
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's, and I did a commercial with Amy Schumer, and a lot of actors who, we have to find those people that are not going to embarrass themselves.
Sure.
Once they're on the set and like someone comes on you and you're like, so you have to be very confident and very comfortable with yourself and really understand the dialogue and the humor and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Hard. It's not, there was a kid on Twitter the other day. He lives in Kentucky, and he wrote me and he said, yeah, I want to come to LA, and I figure I'm going to do a couple of commercials first, and then I'll probably do a couple of plays and then get into film. And I was all,
Sounds like a plan.
Good luck. They have this thing where they just think it's so easy, but it's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work on your side to the business side of it.
For sure. And I was telling Corbin, Danielle, I don't even think you knew this. There was a year, I got to look up when it was. The only 2 national commercials I booked was through you. So thank you.
No
I don't know.
way.
Yes, I swear.
You work all the time.
It was a slow year for me, and I did Trilipix, if you remember Trilipix, which was a pharmaceutical, and then I'll have to look up what the other one. I don't know if it was Home Depot or something. I think it might have been
think it was Home Depot.
But the reason I bring it up is to say that I'm working. No, the reason I bring it up, that was years ago. That was years ago. To gloat. No, the reason I bring it up is Danielle is a big fan of actors, and she wants you to succeed. And I've seen that in castings I've helped run with her. I've seen it on the other side when I've come in as an actor. And so part of what I try to really stress to people is like, when you're finding your community, or to find a community, it's like, you want to find other artists, you want to find other actors, you need to find casting directors, whoever you can find. I think Danielle is one of those people to try to get into your community, and that can be following her on Twitter. That can be a class. You're not going to do it all by yourself. You know what I mean? You're just not going to. It's like Danielle casts a commercial with me and with other people, as an actor, you're going to have your agent and all those things. And so I think, thinking about community, or who's going to be there to help you in a sense, and that you can help in a sense, or be there for, is really important. Finding the good people.
Let me turn it around on you, John.
Yes. Oh no.
What was your worst experience in casting?
My worst experience in casting?
When you walked into a casting.
Oh, when I walked into a casting as an actor.
As an actor.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that is a great question. And let me just ask you, something that they did to me or something I did?
Something they did to you. Where you're
Yeah.
Like,
what? That's a really great. Okay, let me think about this. Oh, that is a good turnaround. Let me think about if I have a really good story for this, where they asked me. God, I can't. I guess I'm for some reason, like weird ones are popping in my brain, Danielle, and weird ones. And I guess one of the ones I'm thinking of, actually, this is not one that I auditioned for, but for some reason I'm thinking of, I helped out with Dollar Shave Club, and all these people had to, or one of the roles was men washing with a little piece of soap. So I had to see men in their underwear and I used a penny all day, like rubbing a penny over their body. That was their piece of soap. And all day I was like filming these men like in their underwear or boxers, with soap. And I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? I went to college. I graduated from college.
Yeah.
So having to explain, exactly. Having to explain that, and the spot actually turned out pretty funny. I'm pretty sure it's still out there, but that was definitely a lot. Probably for me, I think I've probably blocked.
No casting ever intimidated you or made you feel bad, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I've had more like serious casting directors. I would also say, I remember one time I went in. This was a play that I auditioned for, and as we're reading it, they had double cast all the roles, Danielle, and then I realized it was pretty much just like the Bible, which I didn't realize. It was like a play that was like saying the Bible kind of, and I was like, oh, this is like very it's like, which is, the Bible's fine, but I was like, this is just like pretty much like we're preaching to the audience the Bible. And I was like, yeah, I'm not like, I went in for the audition, I was like, yeah, it's not really my thing. So that was like coming into it and then it being way more like I said, not what I expected. So
yeah, there's some freaky auditions that you don't expect and you walk into and you're like, okay, how do I handle this?
Yes.
In a way where I'm not freaked out and they know that I'm not freaked out.
Yes, exactly.
It's hard. I mean, actors have to balance a lot of stuff when they walk in. You don't know what you're walking into.
No. And sometimes I'll get asked about that, when I'm teaching Danielle certain things, and I'll have to be like, it depends. You know what I mean? Like, it depends, which is really challenging too. Well, what does it depend on? Well, kind of what the history is and, what's going on and, things like that, I think that's a very, Corbin, have you had any weird auditions?
I was just trying to think of some, not too. So the one that was weird was just the redirect that this one guy gave. It was, I forget what it was for. It was like, it was some normal spot, just like a regular, just living your life thing. And he's like, can you just do it again, but like as Sam Adams. And I was
What?
like,
As Sam Adams?
yeah, I was like, no. It's like, I don't know. I mean, like, of course I tried. Like, but I was like, I have no idea. And then another one, they had a bookcase and there was like a bunch of comic books. And I was like, oh, Watchmen, I love that comic book. Like, I was trying to relate just at the end of the audition. And he was like, what? Oh, I never read it. And then I was like, okay, well, have a good day. Thank you so much. Like, I was like, just trying to be, friendly, and I didn't want to take up all his time, but it was just like, why do you have it displayed right behind you? It's like, it was so weird, but nothing too weird, like a penny rubbing all over my body. But
yeah, that's a weird one for sure.
Yeah, that was a very strange one.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I would do these commercials and I'm like, you guys, I didn't write this. Just do it. I didn't write this.
Yes, just do it. Yeah.
Just execute it.
Yeah, actually, Danielle, I auditioned for that Amazon spot not too long ago. John pulled me in last minute.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think we briefly met, and then it was just funny because it was like John, exactly as you're talking about, kind of with the tech stuff and everything you're referring to, of like you have to be ready for anything. Because originally it was like the seated person, and then you were like, no, let's do standing instead. And I remember you asked me like, do you have a way to easily do that? And it was such like a genuine, like, just obvious question, but I have a little cranky thing on my stand that has my laptop, and I was like, yeah, 1 sec. And I was ready to go.
That's
so
great. Yeah. And that is great. And that's what we look for, because if we decide like, we need you to stand back, it's not all, oh, let me move this around. Hold on, I'll be right back. We want you to be ready, so we could work on your audition and not your technical stuff,
Yeah, because it changes last minute for everybody.
All the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a positive thing. It's like, well, we know you're not right for this, let's say, or something, but you're right for this. So if you can be adaptable, it's like you're going to get a chance at this other thing that we know you're closer to.
Yeah.
So exactly. I love that. Right.
And that's what we do. Yeah.
That audition was cracking me up too, because that other role was more of a dancey kind of guy. And then John was like, oh, he doesn't know how to dance.
I was like, I don't know. Danielle's like, John, he's doing the dancing. I was like, all right, let's have him do the dancing.
All right, give it a shot.
Let's see Corbin salsa.
I'm not very good at it. I'll give it a shot, but I am not going to get the role.
That's when you take dance lessons.
Exactly.
That's true. I actually do want to take salsa lessons. It's always something in the back of my brain, but one day.
It was definitely more entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, Danielle. Well, we want to finish things up here with something we like to call your best bad acting. So we're gonna put a line in the chat. It's fun. You don't need to overthink it. In fact, the worse it is, the better. And we may give you a little tiny fun redirect or something. But Corbin's gonna put the line in the Zoom chat. And the idea is just to have some fun with this. It's just more to enjoy.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is bad acting?
Yes, best bad acting.
Yeah.
I'm preparing.
I like this. I'm
excited.
I just want you to know if ever what was a line?
Just like
what was a line?
Trying to memorize it immediately.
She wants to be on book.
Yeah,
she's trying to be on book. Is it right there?
I just want you to know if you ever
need anything.
Oh, it didn't come out. The whole thing didn't come out.
Okay, take two. Take two. Okay, is it there, Danielle?
Yes. Yeah.
You ever need anything? Okay, got it. All right, hold on.
Don't be shy. Okay.
Preparation.
I just want you to know if you ever need anything. That's it.
It's good. It's good.
You notice that I wasn't looking into the camera?
That's good. Corbin, isn't there more to the line?
There is more. Let me see if it's not coming out.
Look at your Zoom chat.
Let's see. There's a lot. It's a Mean Girls quote. So if you, I just want you to know, if you ever need anything, don't be shy. Okay, there are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom.
I'm not going to remember
I'm a cool mom.
Yeah, well,
this should be in the Zoom.
Maybe it's in my chat.
Yeah, check your chat.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, good. All right, here we go.
Hold on, let me prepare.
Oh my God.
If you ever need anything, don't be shy. Okay.
You got to roll with the punches.
In the house, I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
That's the most important part. Yes, I think that's the most fun. Okay.
Do I have to do it again?
Yes, Danielle.
Yes, of course.
You got to get the copy here, Danielle. You teach this. All right, here we go.
Bad acting.
Best bad acting.
I can do good too. Okay.
Yes.
I just want you to know, if you ever need anything, don't be shy. Okay.
Mhm.
Listen, there are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
Okay, good. That was good. I like
Wow,
that
that's
start.
amazing.
Okay, Corbin, do you have a redirect for Danielle? This is
No,
fun.
not off the top of my head. You go first.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Danielle, you don't have to tell us, but can you do any fun accent with it? Is there anything
Mhm.
that comes to your mind that you could do? Can you do a fun accent? Anything?
No,
Anything?
see, that's another thing. If you can't do an accent, don't do it.
It's smart. That's a
Danielle's
good.
got so many. She's got so many good rules.
Someone says,
Okay.
"Can you do
Okay.
English?" You're like,
Okay.
"Yes, I can do English."
Okay.
No,
Okay.
you can't.
Okay. Can you do it? Can you do it like a valley girl?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay. Good.
All right. I just want you to know, if you ever need anything, don't be shy, okay? There's no rules in this house, and I'm not like a regular mom. I'm such a cool mom.
Yes.
So good.
That was great. I love that. I think we should end on that.
Yeah,
Corbin.
that's
I
a great
think
one.
that
To end on. I was thinking the same world.
That
That was
was-
perfect.
Make fun of me and then leave.
That's it. That's the way this show goes, Danielle. That's our chance to turn the tables, because you made Corbin dance. Corbin's like, I gotta
Yeah,
get her
yeah,
back
let's
for
get her.
making
Yeah,
me
you
dance.
gotta get up from this point.
Well, Danielle, we want to say thank you so much for your
Yes,
time. We
thank you.
really, really appreciate it. And thank you for all the nuggets of wisdom, which were great. And, like you mentioned, please, reach out to, Danielle on Twitter, social media, check out her class. I've known her a long time. She's a wonderful person. She supports actors and artists. So, I can't say enough nice things. So
Cool.
Danielle,
Nice meeting you, Corbin.
Yeah, it's great to
Yes.
meet you.
John, I'll see you
Danielle.
on the next job.
sounds good.
Appreciate
Bye,
it.
Danielle. Great having you.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, everybody. It's that time again. One fun thing. Corbin, what do you got?
I have a new microphone. You may have seen it on our YouTube channel because it is just like John Ruby's.
You got the exact same. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
It's
all right?
just the best option, really. I mean,
Yes.
the arm moves everywhere. It goes all around my voice. It's great. I'm
Yes.
having a great time with it. I got it all like one at a time, like the arm, the mic, and all the things. And it was a little bit painful because I kept having to wait for the next day to set it up. It just kept coming slowly, more and more.
Yeah.
But I'm having a blast. So
You want to give the deets on what it is?
yeah, the mic is the Shure SM7B, which is awesome. And then it's a Rode, I forget the actual thing, but it's a like Rode mic's arm. So you connect there and all the cords. And then I got a Scarlett 2i2, which is the mixer for it. And yeah, it's great.
And a cloud lifter also.
And a cloud lifter. Yep. I did end up getting that. I'm still messing with that because I'm trying to figure out how much that boosts and all those things. But it is sounding pretty. Sounding like
yeah, great. And if you have any questions on setting up a podcast, you can feel free to reach out. That's something that I know interests people. We'll let you know what else we're working on. That's great, Corbin. My one fun thing, I got to say, I am a big fan of reading. And I'm a bigger fan of libraries. I used to love back in the day, you go to Barnes and Noble and walk around. I don't do that as much, but I still love going to libraries when I can. And one of the things that my wife laughs at me about, Corbin, is I bring back so many books that there's no way I could read. And I just wanted to share in a very quick way this pile of books I have. I like accumulated over time. I put so many holds. Like when I hear about a good book, I put a hold on it at the library. I like to buy books too, but I love the library for this. So I'm like looking, it's like, look at Carpentry and Trim Work, Millionaire Fastlane. These are all library books. I Will Teach You to Be Rich. So these are all like money stuff. Frames of Mind. I don't even know.
You're all over the map too.
Yeah, I'm all over the map. Act One, Moss Hart. It's about writing plays. Hyper Focus. Yeah, I need this. I look at all these books I've got, Corbin. I'm not focused. The White Coat Investor, A Doctor's Guide to Personal Finance and Investment. I'm not a doctor. What am I doing here? The Cafe Candle Cook. This is hilarious.
You just want to relate with your sister.
Yeah, these are
Doctors.
like vegan meals. A bunch of millionaire real estates. I mean, I can't read all those books in a year. What's like? I have a problem.
Yeah.
Corbin, I have a problem. The good thing is it's not costing us any money because they've gotten rid of late fees in Los Angeles, which is great. But I definitely have a problem. I can't read all those books.
And you never learned how to read, which makes it harder.
I can read, Corbin.
You can? Oh.
Say that. Though I did just see a funny thing. I can't remember the guy's name on Instagram, but he He's a real character. He's on Barstool Sports, and he accused the guy of not being able to read. And then he's like, okay, then read this. And he hands him a little Post-it. And the guy goes, I can't read. He goes, that's what I thought. He's like, no, that's what's written on here. I can't read. And it was so good. I was cracking. It was really funny.
Genius. I love that.
Yeah, that was really good. So, all right, that's our one fun things for this week. If you have anything else you want to share with us, please feel free to share your one fun thing in the comments.
Yeah, we love to see them. So keep them coming.
Thank you for listening to the Moving Spotlight podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. And we're looking at the numbers. It's mostly iTunes. So come on, Spotify and other people, pick it up.
Yeah, we need you over there.
Yeah,
bring it in.
Yep.
But we're also on YouTube, which we also have a lot of analytics there too. So keep us guessing. Keep us trying to figure out what the next thing's going to be. So subscribe, hit that bell. We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the
Moving Spotlight Podcast.